My name is Barry Benjamin. I'd like to call over the meeting for the San Jose Port Waterway and Beach District. All rise for the pledge of allegiance, please.
Indivisible. Justice for all. I forgot which screen. Is that your screen? No. I forgot which one was my right and which is.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Okay. Commissioner Benjamin.
Present.
Commissioner Rivers. Absent. Commissioner Way.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Flowers. Here.
Right. Okay, adoption and approval of agenda. Elise, what are we approving on this agenda? Reformat, I think we did it last time.
No, you're approving the items on the agenda. You're approving what items are going to be discussed.
All right. I mean, I've looked at them. I don't have any problem with them. Any comment or anything like that? Anybody? Okay.
I'll move to adopt and approve.
Okay, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Public comment. Anybody from the public?
Good afternoon. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Ed Slavin, Box 384, Cleanup City of St. Augustine.blogspot.com.
Hold on just a minute. Just like, sure.
One down. Oh, and up. There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, excuse me. Just for the record, Mr. Rivers just came in.
Welcome. You're tardy. Ed Slavin, Box 384, Cleanup City of St. Augustine.blogspot.com. Folks, we've got to stop meeting like this. Y'all need to comply with 286.0114, which requires that before any votes are taken, you have public comment. At your last meeting, you violated that law. And there's a police officer present. I requested the police come because of what Mr. Benjamin had said and done before the meeting. And then Mr. Benjamin asked the police officer to escort Mr. Thomas Reynolds out of the room simply for asking for public comment. Now, that subjects both this board and the City of St. Augustine Beach to potential liability under the civil rights laws, 42 U.S.C. 1983, which was enacted by a Republican Congress back in 1871. It's called the Ku Klux Klan Act. And it gives any citizen whose rights are violated under color of law, custom, usage, practice, or procedure of government organization the power to sue and go to federal court. Now, I know you're not going to do that again, so let's start complying with 286.0114. Also, I know, let the record reflect, Mr. Benjamin just looked at his watch, just like George Bush. Now, also, your meetings conflict and are intentionally scheduled to conflict with the meetings of the St. Johns County Board of County Commissioners. Please stop doing that. When you schedule your next meeting for December, please pick another date and time so it doesn't directly conflict, as all your meetings do, except for the special budget meetings, with the meetings of the VCC. And by the way, I let them know what one of y'all said about they should change their meeting time. I think you're the smaller board, and out of deference and courtesy and comity, y'all should change your time. And there's no excuse. There's only 2 cities and a couple independent taxing districts in the county, in St. Johns County. There's no reason y'all can't get your schedule straight. Now, also, today is the anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. And our nation is under stress, our county's under stress, our rights are being violated. Some people want to take away those rights. We just had a battle last week in St. Augustine, and unanimously, 4-0, the St. Augustine City Commission, upon reconsideration, decided not to take away the right of the people to vote for mayor. Well, you know, I told them, as I was getting up to public comment about my dad, he jumped in Normandy and North Africa and Sicily with the 82nd Airborne, and he fought and bled for our right to free speech. Now, I want to see you all do a better job. I want to see you listen to the people. I send you some proposed agenda items for today. I only see a couple and reflected. But the 7-generation test that I wrote about in the St. Augustine Record on September the 8th, I don't really see that in your business on the agenda here. I don't see y'all really doing anything about global ocean level rise. And I know a couple of y'all ran on that issue. I hope you're going to be more active on that. But in terms of, well, why aren't these meetings televised? I know Commissioner Flowers done asked in July about that. And the Secretary Treasurer, who's not even an employee of the district, she's an independent contractor, so-called, keeps not putting it on the agenda. Now, I think there was some research. Would you please add that to the agenda about televising these meetings? This room is set up for it. The City of St. Augustine Beach is only too happy to do it at a very reasonable price. Thank you, Max. But I want to see you all shine. I want to be proud of this board. And when you kick somebody out of this meeting room for expressing their rights to speak in the public meeting under 286.0114 and the First Amendment, the Ninth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, that's just plumb wrong. And the night that Tom Manuel was arrested for bribery, I called my friend Tom Manuel that night, and I said, don't do that again. So I'm going to say that to you, Mr. Chairman. When it comes to public comment rights, when somebody wants to be recognized, and you're about to have a vote, as you did at your last meeting, first time ever having a contract for your attorney, and you wouldn't allow public comment, and then you had a man escorted out of the room by the gendarmes, that's un-American. Generations of Americans fought and died for our right to stand here and speak to you. You work for us. So let me say, just as I said to Tom Manuel the night he was arrested for bribery, don't do that again. And thank you for all that you do, and I'll be back.
Thanks. Any other public comment?
Good afternoon, Merrill Rowland, 6281 Old Dixie Drive. I've lived here in St. Johns County approximately 40 years. Own my own house. I've had several successful businesses here. I'm retired now. And I voted for every one of you that are up here. I've run for county commissioner. I know what it is to run for office countywide. In fact, I'm going to run again in 2020 because I care about my community. But I'm disappointed in two of you up here. You don't seem to care. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'd like to give you the opportunity before the next election. One of you is up for re-election this coming year. And I'm disappointed when I see rudeness. There's no cause for that. My mother, God bless her, she brought 8 children into the world, and I'll never forget all the lessons she taught me. And one of the things that she said that I think is pertinent here is, it costs nothing to be nice. And if you disagree with people, that's why we're here. This is the place, and this is the time for myself and everyone else here to express our feelings about our government. We all got up and gave a pledge of allegiance to the United States of America. And at some meetings in this community, in this country, they give a prayer. In the old city, they have someone at every meeting give a prayer after the Pledge of Allegiance. I know some of you personally up here. I know you're good people. Sometimes good people do bad things. I've done some bad things in my life. We make mistakes, but we learn from them. I hope that you learn from them, because what you did was illegal at the last meeting. And it was rude, and it was uncalled for. We're all different. Some of us shout. Some of us are quiet. Some of us are very passionate, and sometimes we all, as human beings, mistake passion, aggression. We think, well, this person's aggressive, they're violent. And in fact, sometimes that person is just very passionate, and they speak loudly. I know sometimes when I'm on my cell phone, I have someone tell me I'm speaking a little too loud, and I don't realize it. So maybe perhaps some of you up there just don't realize how you're being seen by the rest of us. And perhaps you won't want this to happen anymore when you start to televise the meetings, because then the whole county's going to see you. And it's really shameful the way two of you acted at the last meeting. And then you put two of our fine officers in jeopardy of disobeying their oath as officers. Their oath is to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Florida, etc. But when you put them in jeopardy by telling them to remove someone from this room, they're in conflict with people's First Amendment rights. And you're putting their jobs in line. Because if somebody decided that they wanted to sue this board and sue the police department, you're putting them in jeopardy. You shouldn't do that to our police officers. They have enough problems. And they could be somewhere else. This is the 4th meeting I've been to, and I've lived here almost 40 years. This is the 4th meeting I've been to, and I'm really disappointed in that last meeting. So please, try to do better. And there's Senate Bill 50. Senate Bill 50, why did they go through the trouble, our senators, to make that? And regardless of whether we have a law or not, it's the right thing to do to let people speak, like I am doing right now. Otherwise, we might as well just adopt the rules and laws and all that of communist Cuba and other communist countries. We don't want to do that. Nobody at that meeting, I recorded that meeting, and I played it over and over. Nobody at that meeting threatened any of you. No one at that meeting cussed. No one at that meeting was violent. There was one person who's loud, but that's his nature. I know him. It's his nature. It's just the way he is. So please, let's do better. We can do better. You represent us. And this is, again, the time and place for us to get up and speak. And if you're not going to do that, then we'll vote you out. I know you don't get paid for this job, but you've got to do the job that we elected you to do. If you're unwilling to do that, let me give you a quick history lesson. I've got 30-something seconds left. In that seat, Mr. Benjamin, there was a mayor named Andrea Samuels. She was very evil. She was very mean. She did the same things. We got rid of her. There was a commissioner named Snodgrass. He got up and walked out at the beginning of a meeting because he just couldn't toe the line. And then there was Rich O'Brien, who was here as a commissioner. He got up and walked out of the meeting. Those are 3 people that we got rid of that were very rude and disobeying our Constitution. So there's a history here in that seat you're sitting in, and that all of you are sitting in. So let's look at that history and try to do a little better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I respond to public comment on it?
Not yet. Anybody else from the public? No? The next thing on the agenda is government representatives.
Oh, wait a minute. Where's the treasurer's report? Are we doing that one?
Jim Piggott, City of St. Augustine. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Just 3 quick things for you. The first one, hot off the press, if you will. We believe that the Santa Maria, the ship, will be coming back to St. Augustine this Friday and staying until Tuesday. We're in contact with them. They haven't approved that time yet. But, I mean, that's the time they wanted, and we believe we can handle them. That's the biggest day of our marina yearly business, if you will. So they'll be on the outside of the breakwater where the T-head is. The next thing is, starting the second or third week of December, we're going to begin our dredging operation, Salt Run. If you remember, this year was a little different because we had issues with our dredge contract. So we're going to have 3 grant cycles, so a total of $600,000 for the dredging. And we believe with that, after the contractor comes back with a completed survey of the entire channel, looks like we can do the entire channel for that money. So this may be something that we want to do before we were doing 2 grant cycles, and this, because of the contract issue, we had extended this year to 3, so we may be doing 3 grant cycles from here on out, see how that works. With that said, about grant cycles, we're approaching our next grant cycle to apply for our fine grant that we've applied for the last 10 years. So I guess I can ask for your approval now, and I can bring the paperwork back either December or January's meeting, in a local agreement. But it's no different than any other 10 years. We'll be asking $50,000 from the Port District and $150,000 from fine, and we do all the paperwork and application and go down and defend it, so on and so forth.
And what is that for, I'm sorry?
Dredging salt run.
Oh,
And that paperwork is due to fine not later than the 31st of March. We always like to get it done early because we have to bring it here first, have you approve it, sign it, then we get on our city commission's agenda along with a resolution that would need to go down with our application. So if you're all still good with the $50,000 matching, it's a 75-25 grant, then I will either bring the paperwork first meeting in December or go in January.
Okay, any discussion on that?
is there a grant application for it?
We do the grant application to bring it to fine, yes.
Okay, so I guess I'm just confused, are we talking, how much money would be coming from our?
$50,000
Okay,
and fine would be giving us $150,000.
Of the 600,000?
No, ma'am. The $600,000 is three $200,000 grants.
Okay,
So we've already applied for those, we got that money, well, we'll get that money when we're done. But this is the first of another 3-year cycle. The first year cycle, we're going to apply for a $200,000 grant. We're asking for $50,000 from the port and $150,000 from fine. Next year, this time, I'll be back here asking for another $50,000 and $150,000 from fine. Then the third year, I'll be back asking for another $50,000 and $150,000 from fine. That's how you get the $600,000. Then we'll go to channel again.
and do they dredge that in segments a little bit each year, or all the dredging is done? at
No,
once?
it's all one time.
It's all one time?
Right. From past experience, it doesn't fluff in that quickly, so I think we think that the 3-year cycle, if you will, is probably going to be working out the best.
So we collect the money over 3 years and then do the dredging?
Yes. We actually don't get paid the money until the dredging's done.
Discussion, but I have no problem with it. We've done this before, and it's, throw $50,000 in fine plus the $5,000. I think it's a good deal.
Nothing happens unless you get the grant, fine.
Correct.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If we're gonna vote on it, though, don't we need to have a grant application?
He's gonna bring it
No,
up.
he's gonna bring
Oh,
it. He was
we're
just
not
saying.
voting
I
today.
agree.
Okay, gotcha.
In the past, I've always brought the interlocal agreement for you to take a look at.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the $50,000.
But before the grant application?
He's bringing the grant application.
Well, that's after, I would like to read the grant
I
application.
Why don't we
think
just make
the
a
motion
motion?
is to approve him to
Yes.
bring the.
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh,
That's all.
just, we're not approving the $50,000?
he's sticking his toe in the water.
We're not dispersing anything yet.
Okay,
Nothing, it's
I got
just, it's, that's what the grant application is going to say, $50,000.
And it's the interlocal agreement that I brought the last 10 years. We just changed the dates. It's been approved by both attorneys.
I make a motion that we'll be happy to take a look at it.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I could email it to Elise as well, so she can send it to y'all in advance if you
that would be
like.
great.
Great, thank you. Secretary Treasurer's report.
All right, this is the first month of
Is that the
the,
only government rep?
Oh,
oh,
Anyone
there's
else?
more.
Oh, sorry.
Where's Steve Zukowski?
Sorry, Ted.
That's all right. Afternoon, Teddy Meyer, St. Johns County Parks and Rec. Just want to give you guys a couple updates. The Doug Crane project, just hoping to get a task order in the next week, and then it'll be 90 days for permit and design, and then hopefully, probably I would say second, third quarter with construction. The question's going to be, we have Volano, we also have Butler, and how those all kind of correspond, being open and closed is going to be the big question. So that's kind of the goal. The other thing you may have read last week, the week before, was we were granted $1 million in surplus funds. That's capital funding. Obviously, there's going to be a kickoff meeting between now and the end of the year. Staff is going to host. That's for all those projects. So the library project, the Villages West project, that'll all be combined at the same meeting, and then they'll discuss how the money's going to be allocated. On our side, the plan is to kind of find other grant funding to maximize the $1 million. So there aren't exactly any projects that have said this is where the money's going to go, that kickoff in the next, well, I guess, month and a half is gonna dictate that. So I couldn't tell you it's gonna go here, it's gonna go there, it's gonna go in a big pot, and we're gonna try to disperse it as needed.
And those are all pre-approved projects that have been waiting for funding? is that
Yes,
right? Okay.
that's correct, yeah. And then lastly, if you didn't hear, they voted down the off-beach parking and the boat ramp fee. So that's not
Voted
going
that
to
down.
be coming, just so you know.
What is the latest with Butler right now, the boat ramp?
So that's a good question. So Butler, they're finishing the Treasure Beach dredge, and then the plan that we're, I guess, tentatively working on is to allocate money to dredge the channel before that group leaves. And I don't know, I can't say, is it, do you remember who's doing the dredge down there? I don't know if it's Gator or not, I can't exactly remember, but the idea is that because they're already there, we would use their, save money on mobilization, dredge the channel, and they would leave. So, because it's gonna need some substantial dredging because of all the work that's been done in the shoveling.
The county's not paying for Treasure Beach though, right? That's just the property owner's tax?
The county is paying for
They
that.
are.
The channels are part of the county.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's about as close as I can get. Most of that's a construction services project, so I'll try to get some more information for the next meeting, but that's the overall plan to save money for everyone. And to open the boat ramp as quick as we can.
Right.
So Gator dredging will be around for a little while?
I don't know if that's them, I don't know specifically, but the dredge company that's there, they're planning on them dredging the channel before they leave because of all the construction, the issues they've done with the parking lot and everything else. And there's a goal to eventually redo and redevelop the actual property long-term, but in the meantime, they can dredge the channel while they're there because it's gonna need it, because it already needed it, and then now because of all the construction, it's gonna need it even more, so. Good. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you. All right, anybody else?
Sergeant Josh Underwood, Sheriff's Office Marine Unit. I only have 2 items, one to bring to your attention. Since you're responsible for the nav aids in Salt Run, red dayboard number 5 is slanted. It looks like somebody must have hit it. So that one will probably come down eventually. Red number 5.
Pretty sure it's number 5.
Yeah, it's right in the curve. It's the same one as usual, the consistent one that you guys change out pretty often. And then just to give you an update, there's still 2 buoys in the inlet that are off station. One's on the beach, one's on the South Shoal. The Coast Guard's aware, but they're waiting on calmer water conditions to replace those. And that's all I have. Unless you have questions for me.
Thank you. Red number 5. Take a look at that one. See what we
If
can
that's
do
the
with
wrong
that.
number, I'll email you.
Okay,
But I think it's 5.
Yes, we can take a look at that.
thank you. All right, anybody else? Government? Nobody? Okay. Okay, Secretary Treasurer's report.
This is the first month of the new fiscal year, started October 1st. So, like the city police overtime, we've spent $350. The St. Johns County Sheriff's Department overtime was $2,510. And those are probably from the September billing paid in October. The derelict boats, it looks like we paid $8,300 not that long ago. And there was no taxes that came in yet. In the State Board of Administration Fund A, we have $22,900. In the operating account, we have $185,000 plus. And in the money market account, $1,932,031. And that in the Summer Haven account balance was $712. Of the, I think we only spent about $7,000. I didn't put that on there. Well, no, I did. It was $4,900 of the $92,000 that you had approved to cover Summer Haven, and we've spent $4,900.
Any questions with regard to the financials? No? Okay. Thank you. All right. Approval of the minutes from October 15th, 2019. Any changes?
With approval of the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, engineer report.
I continue to coordinate with St. Johns County, the Army Corps, and DEP regarding potential future dredging of the Summer Haven River. The county is still considering dredging the river as a source for their FEMA dune project, but no decisions have been made yet.
Could you explain that further? You're talking about just south of the Summer Haven project the port did, just south of that?
That's correct. The county has received FEMA funding to build a dune along the old paved section of old A1A, and they're looking at dredging the river, both the north end and the overwash in the south end, as a sand source for that project. They also have to consider the low-cost option, which may be trucking sand in from SJ1, but they are still looking at all options.
I thought that the project just south of us in Summer Haven was a definite already, that they had already decided to dredge, that was coming
No,
up.
they are pursuing it, but they have to go with the low-cost option, so that has not been determined yet.
So there's no guarantee that the south end of Summer Haven is gonna be dredged or at this time?
My understanding is that there is no guarantee that it will be dredged for this upcoming FEMA dune project, but I don't think St. Johns County will stop considering it for future dredging if they need it. So I think it's still on the table whether it happens for this project or not.
I see.
But again, no decisions have been made. I can't speak for the county about what their plans actually are.
Anything else?
That's it.
Questions on engineering? Okay. All right. New business. Request to have a police officer attend the commission meetings. Open for discussion.
Well, I mean, just speaking for myself, I'm not living in fear of this meeting, but if there's somebody on the board that feels strongly about it, I wouldn't object, but as far as I'm concerned, we don't need a police officer here.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
Okay.
I think we always have police officers here, don't we? Pretty much, if it got real crazy.
Well, I don't know that they're on duty for that.
I see.
We don't need a policeman here.
I agree. I don't think we need one.
Okay. Well, let's take a vote on it then. Okay.
Do you want to do a roll call vote? Do you want to do a?
Would you like me to say
You have a motion?
Yeah, go ahead. Just state your name.
So appreciate it. So Commander Ashlock with the St. Augustine Beach Police Department. So what, in the past, we all want our government to work as efficiently as possible, and sometimes it doesn't due to whatever reason. So last meeting, and I believe there's some previous meetings, that has required a response from our police department, and that's brought officers off the street. And sometimes we only have 2 officers or 3 officers that are working the road. So it might not necessarily be for the safety, but when they have to respond here, that takes them off the road. So any event we have at the in the city, some may require law enforcement presence, and it could always, if things calm down, we could always nix it. So that would be my reasoning for having one, because it's taking assets away from our city residents and focusing on a non-city related event. Your board does great things for our city, I know that, but just got to worry about the citizens and also our officers as well. So that's all I have to say, but I appreciate you. Thank you.
If there's any questions, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm happy.
That makes sense to me, but I tend to suspect that the last meeting was the high water mark for how wild things, I don't know how good as I say that, for how wild things are going to get around here, and I don't imagine we're going to need law enforcement response too often in the future. I certainly hope not. So.
Well, I'll just make a motion that we go to one, and then take a vote. Is that?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Sorry.
That was a
That's
vote,
fine.
Yeah.
that was a vote against?
Or against?
Against.
Yes.
Approach the bench.
Sure, go ahead.
So if that's the case, then that's fine. However, I would ask that if we do have to respond here again, that we would be able to bill you, or you coordinate with another law enforcement agency, or find another venue to hold your meetings, because last time it took 3 officers, and it was just out of control. I spoke with Max about it, spoke with Chief about it, so just ask that you consider that.
And if the officers that are here that are on some of your committees can work in that capacity, if you could speak with their supervisor, so.
I think we're okay with that, seems fair. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
It's all you, Josh.
Yeah, Josh. I'll be good.
Can we get Josh? He'll be free, right? Okay,
Not free.
okay.
I'm not here for that agenda.
Update regarding USACE meeting held on October 18th, Commissioner Flowers.
Yes, sir, I just wanted to let you know, we did have a wonderful meeting, the Friends of Summer Haven showed up. I think I'm pretty sure I've been forwarding all the emails from the Corps since then. And the only thing I really wanted to update you on was that Mr. Jim Suggs did send us a recent note, not too recent, but end of October, that he suspected section 14 and 1135 would be the best fit for us. But I know they have a lot more work to do, and I gave you guys another a printout of those two sections just to be considering. It's just a quick update, but that's what he's doing now, and I'm just in a waiting mode.
Great.
But I have to say, I'm a little confused because I thought and I'm not sure the Friends of Summer Haven are on a different page, but I thought it was a done deal to have the county do the south end of this project. So, I'm not sure, would it be a good idea to have the county come in as a part of this CAP program too? And include it under one big umbrella?
I can reach out to the county and discuss that with them.
See, if they haven't made a decision yet, is all. You know, maybe this could help them make a decision on what to do that with.
Okay.
Sandy?
Yes,
Okay.
on that, yes.
Okay, Public Works funding for Project Bill.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Treadick. I'm the Public Works Director of the City of St. Augustine Beach. I appreciate you having me here today to talk to you about a few projects that we're looking at that are related to access to the beach and to the ocean. The three projects I wanted to talk about are the A Street Sidewalk, which is a beach access project. You're probably all familiar where A Street is. It's in the center of our city. Ocean Hammock Park Phase 2. Ocean Hammock Park is a property that the city acquired several years ago. Phase 1 has been constructed, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute, but it's got accessible beach access. We're looking at some facility improvements to encourage access to the beach, and it's got an educational component too. And a 5th Street dune walkover. We've been looking at, especially after the hurricanes we had a few years ago, and then the one we just missed us this year, some of our vulnerabilities, and I'll talk about that in a minute, what we can do maybe there to provide a little more enhanced protection along the coastline. So, A Street Sidewalk. It's a stretch of A Street between A1A Beach Boulevard and the Atlantic Ocean. It sees a lot of commercial and residential use. It's got businesses, restaurants, residences, some rentals, all sorts of uses. And that brings a lot of pedestrian traffic, a lot of vehicular traffic, which you really see during some of the, let me back up just one second. It's got public parking, restrooms, and I said it has the heavy beach traffic because of that. That's a picture of the, looking down the street towards the beach. You can see there's no sidewalk, there's no refuge. Vehicles, pedestrians, bicycles all share that road. And it's pretty tight. There's not even a shoulder up there. And you can see when it rains, the whole thing goes underwater, which means the only place a pedestrian can walk is right down the middle of the road without getting wet. So it's a real issue for access to the beach from the facilities, especially at A1A Beach Boulevard and the community at large. A lot of people walk to the beach in that area. What we're proposing to do is about a 500-foot sidewalk from the public parking on A1A Beach Boulevard to the beach. Along with that would go a drainage structure to solve the flooding problem that would drain back to the county drainage system on A1A Beach Boulevard. And the estimated cost of that project is about $60,000.
The key takeaways on this is that it's a dramatic increase in safety, and it solves the drainage problem and encourages the access to the beach, which has all of the benefits as the ocean access has, the economic and other benefits. The second project is the Ocean Hammock Park Phase 2. This is located towards the south, just north of Publix, on the east side of A1A Beach Boulevard. You can see Sea Colony just to the south of the site. It's about an 18-acre parcel. Some existing features: there is a beach walkway right now, accessible beach walkway that goes all the way from A1A Beach Boulevard to the beach, and there's some shell parking in here. And that's about it. That's about 20 parking spaces in that area. Some of the things we would like to do, let me get this clicker right, it was working a second ago, there we go. Accessible public restrooms. So we have a tremendous need for that. We think that would increase the use of the park and increase the traffic and the use of the beach. Picnic areas, again, same kind of thing, to increase the use of the park, increase the use and enjoyment of the beach. Educational kiosk, where it would talk about things like the Florida Greenways and Trails system. There's an inland paddling trail which goes up the intercoastal there, and this actually, one of the future components of this project would be to put in canoe and kayak storage to allow people to go out into the ocean, do ocean kayaking, maybe paddle up into the inlet and go into the inland paddling trail. So there's that component too. There's nature trails, and it will enhance the accessible access to the beach. Everything will be handicap accessible. And one last thing we could do there is add some additional parking spaces, probably about 10 or more spaces, which would increase the use a little more. And there is a future phase for this also to the east under all that text, where we'll add other things like a picnic pavilion, an observation deck, and that's where the kayak canoe storage would go, and some other featured more nature trails, informational signs, and educational kiosks. So it's something we're very anxious to get moving on this year. Oops, I went one too fast. The estimated cost of that is $142,000 for these Phase 2 improvements. And a third project that we're looking at related to beach access is the 5th Street Dune Walkover. As I said, with the hurricanes, every one of these pedestrian crossings through the dunes is a vulnerable area. Some are worse than others. The 5th Street area, we have, well, it's a little out of order here on my notes, but I'll say we have a hotel to the west on the boulevard. We've got parking along the beach, or along 5th Street. So this gets a fair amount of pedestrian traffic. What we're proposing to do is an elevated dune walkover there that would be high enough to be above the dune, above the vegetation, would allow the vegetation to be restored in that area. You can see what it may look like from the end of 5th Street right now. You can see, it's kind of hard to see on this scale, but it's about 4 feet, 3 to 4 feet lower where the pedestrians walk through the dune system than the rest of the dune is. So by providing a walkway at an elevation above, that area would be restored, and that creates one less path for storm surge into the city. Also, it would, areas that were disturbed previously would be revegetated. And I talked already about the beach access. The estimated cost of this project is $40,000. So those are the three projects that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about whether they would be something that the Port Waterway and Beach District would be interested in assisting the city on, since they are related to access to the ocean, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Could you define assisting? How much money on each project would y'all even be looking for?
Well, as much as you're willing.
No, that's not what I asked.
I think that we would probably, whatever you can afford to do, we would be a partner on it. We would do a cost share. Right now, these projects, 2 of them are not in the budget right now. One of them, the Ocean Hammock Park, is in the budget. Mm-hmm. So maybe if we could get some assistance on that, and potentially assistance, a cost share of some sort on the other 2, even if it were 50-50 or something like that. Maybe on Ocean Hammock Park, we're still exploring revenue sources for that too, so anything you can do on that.
So Ocean Hammock Park being on the budget means that that's going forward no matter what. So the timeline on that is
It's going
relatively
forward.
immediate, right?
Yes, it's
Okay.
going forward.
Mhm.
However, the funding is contingent upon a grant to the state that we've applied for, which they haven't funded for the last several years.
Right, so then the timeline for Fifth Street and Eighth Street is question mark. There's no. It's not
At
on
this
budget.
point, I think we would be looking at those, if we could secure the additional funding and some other source, we'd be looking to move those into the budget this year and start. But we're not at that point yet. They're not in the budget right now because we didn't have the funding source for them.
Mhm.
We're gonna look for revenue sources where we can to move those projects forward,
Mhm.
but we're not quite there yet.
You mentioned that the Ocean Hammock budget was 140, and that includes public restrooms?
That does.
How many restrooms are you hoping to
Let me
build?
back. It would have two restrooms, a male and a female, right in this location. They'd be handicap accessible restrooms. They'd be similar to the restrooms we have at 8th Street and 10th Street. They would be connected via a paved and accessible pathway to the picnic pavilion or picnic area that would be here. The other picnic area may not be accessible, but at least one of them will be.
I like the projects, but I just don't think they're really in the Port Authority's venue. Because they're mostly land-based projects, even so that they do have pedestrian, walkways to the beach. But I just, I'd have to defer to our attorneys and see what we think about that. Is that, what do you think about that in our charter?
I could look at the charter and see, but generally, the language is that it has to be something that improves local waters,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
Would a walkover apply? Access?
You have access
it-
over the dunes.
I'm not sure.
Well, I've read the charter pretty well, and access to, water seems to be covered to me. I'll wait for them to come
Yeah,
back.
if you could
on
call it access to water,
that.
maybe.
Right. Can I ask you a question, sir? This, Fifth Street dune walkover, did you say that was or was not in the budget this year?
That is not currently in the budget.
Well, maybe if it's legal for us to do it, instead of you trying, maybe we could cover things like that in full and reduce some of your financial burden that you can use for the park that we can't cover. If there's trails and stuff we cannot cover under our charter, perhaps there are some things we could cover more of instead of doing a cost share.
That would be fine. Anything we can do to help on these would be greatly appreciated.
And
We definitely, after the hurricanes, we need to move forward on not just this one, but other dune walkovers too, to be sure.
and how many of those are in need right now in the dune walkovers?
I don't have a count, but it's probably less than 10 that we should get in the near future, maybe a handful, 4 or 5 in the next couple of years.
And none of that's budgeted as in your budget yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
And some are more vulnerable than others, so we would tackle them as the most vulnerable ones to go and address first.
And the A Street sidewalk, I understand that's a city sidewalk, but you say it's used as a corridor for beach access?
Well, it's actually a county roadway, that segment of roadway. The city, due to the fact that it's in the heart of our city and it's our citizens and visitors that use it, we're trying to work with the county to move this project forward, and it just hasn't gotten there yet.
Where is that sidewalk actually going to go on 8th Street?
The plan would be to put it on the north side, the current plan, and nothing is final yet on that. The plans, there's a preliminary design that my predecessor had put together on that, which showed it on the north side. And there are some other options which we could explore if the sidewalk itself becomes difficult due to resistance, even paved shoulders. What we really need out there is a refuge for people to get out of the way of cars and have safe access to the beach. They're walking down from the parking lot to the ocean right now, and they're walking in the middle of the road. And probably a good portion of the time it works, but if you were out there Memorial Day, it doesn't work there. And other weekends, weekend traffic's particularly heavy in the summer, and the mix of pedestrians and vehicles is, there hasn't been, to my knowledge, a serious incident yet, but I think my experience tells me it's just a matter of time if we don't do something.
So
Y'all are
some-
going to have to, sorry.
Go ahead. No, you go
I was
ahead.
going to say, y'all are going to have to condemn some land to get that.
No, there is sufficient right of way.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you can make a boardwalk. You're saying a sidewalk.
Yes, a sidewalk.
You could make a sidewalk.
There is room to do it, yes. In order to do it, you have to make some changes to the grades out there in order to make the drainage work, so it solves that problem. They go hand in hand. Because there's, right now, if I could back up to that picture, if you go another minute here. Button's sticking. There we go. So, right now, these properties, the only thing that keeps them from flooding is an earthen berm that they've built up in their front yard. It's not in their front yard, it's technically in the right of way. But in order to put a sidewalk in, we would have to lower that berm, but we'd have to put it in, that's why we have to put the inlet in too. The inlet would then gather the water, we wouldn't have the puddle anymore. So it kind of solves both problems. It deals with the drainage and it gets the sidewalk within the right of way. I don't know if that was.
I'm also thinking on the public parking, if there's a, for example, we were going to, we discussed, when they discussed extending the Doug Crane, we were looking at funding additional public parking there as well. So I mean, it's just my personal opinion, I have to wait for the legal, but I would think we could help out with any kind of public parking lot that connects to beach access. I would think. I mean, I would be for that.
I think that the idea is to, part of this anyway, is to protect the dunes.
On the dune walkover, absolutely.
Yeah, and I can see that. You know, the port is already involved in beach restoration once in a while, and dune construction and stuff like that, so I think that's okay.
The parking lot, is what you said, the parking lot and the sidewalk?
No, Fifth Street dune walkover.
Oh, just the walkover.
Yeah, just the walkover, I'm pretty clear about. The parking lot, I don't know.
That might be a stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sidewalk feels a little outside of our wheelhouse. I gotta say, I love Ocean Hammock Park, go there all the time, but I'm not sure that increasing access to a park is necessarily
Could we send
in our wheelhouse.
a,
But the Fifth Street dune walker, it feels like it's absolutely something that we could do, and I personally would be in favor of kicking
What was
somebody that way.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
42,000 total
42,000 for the beach walkover?
for that one.
That's 40.
Yeah.
Is the estimate.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a preliminary estimate, but yeah.
and those are public sand dunes, right? I mean, that's on public property, correct?
Yeah, we would have to coordinate with the county on all of this, because we'd be accessing across the beach property. Now, I'm not sure exactly where we come in yet, that would be worked out with the county. Yeah,
What
with
about
the
accessible?
State and federal.
Accessible beach access, but that's perhaps something that the port may be able to do. 'Cause
Well,
we-
that's Fifth Street, the dune walkover would be handicap accessible.
Okay,
How
so
actually
that-
would that be? It'd just be a ramp up and a ramp back down again?
Yeah, everything would be
No
ramped
stairs? Okay.
to the ocean. There'd probably be similar to Ocean Hammock.
Right.
It'd probably be a combination of a ramp and stairs.
Mhm.
For the convenience of those that don't need the ramp, they can just go down a few stairs, but the ramp would be built off to the side to allow access, and then beach accessible vehicles. We're not quite there yet, but down the road, I expect that'll become a more prevalent item.
Right.
So if you didn't have any money from us, would this still continue? Are there other sources that you have to prospect for?
At this time, I don't have any other sources other than our ad valorem taxes as a prospect for that particular project, no.
Because it's a lot of money for, you know, to come out of our budget, that we haven't budgeted for it. You know, I would like to see if you can get some other sources, and then maybe we can partner up with you guys, you know, before we commit to say, okay, we'll do that, here's $40,000. You know, I just like to see if you can get some other sources and see where we're at on it.
Yeah, I can certainly explore that.
And then, you know, please come back and tell, the county's gonna give $30,000 or $10,000 or whatever, and then maybe we can go ahead and help you out.
Most of this is going to be on the north side. Most of the north side is commercial, isn't it? I know there's a couple of houses in there, but you got Beachcomber and the surf shop. And is that correct? That's the
On
side.
A Street.
Yeah. On A Street.
On A Street, most is either commercial, either transient rentals or businesses. There's a few people, I think there's a few residents that own their homes that live there, but some may or may not be long-term leases. I really don't know the breakdown.
Might, if you will, and participate a little bit.
But yeah, there's quite a bit. There's Jackson and Mango's on the corner and some
Yeah.
other businesses, which I can't remember all their names.
Yeah, well, The one that's kind of attached to the surf shop.
Stirred Up, yes.
Stirred Up, that's it. Yeah.
So there is a fair amount, and that's what generates a lot of the pedestrian traffic too.
I mean, it seems to me that that might be a project that the city could encourage a lot of the residents to pitch in on, or, I don't know, do some sort of fundraiser. Not just a thought.
Yeah, and on that one, we are in talks with the county to try to get them, because it's a county roadway technically, so we're trying to get a partnership going with them on that too. So the more funding sources we would have, probably the more quickly we could move that project forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So please get back with us if we're interested.
Yeah, the walkover is something that I think we could take a look at.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Thank you very much.
ADA compliance discussion, Commissioner Flowers.
ADA, and Mr. Slavin, this goes back to your request for television service. Months ago, I did send Mr. Max Royal a question about doing the television service, and I think I got a handout to you all last time on that.
What was the cost on that?
It was now, it's been something like $21 an hour. He's not here, is he? Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't recall exactly.
That's okay, it was very expensive. There were 3 tiers though, about how you wanted to do it, all these different cameras. Could you do the whole thing, just one shot, or you want each individual person?
Does it broadcast live, or is this just a recording and then you can download it or something? Because it'll be riveting stuff.
Max,
We don't televise any
Max.
because Comcast.
Max, state your name.
Max Royal, City Manager, St. Augustine Beach. We don't televise anymore because Comcast started to charge us. But we stream it, because people do a lot of watching through streaming, and it is live, with a minor delay in case there's any bad language.
Well, I'd be in favor of it, certainly whatever the cheapest option. I don't think we need to have a tight shot of each of us individually when we're speaking or anything. One thing I wanted to get some clarity on though, does that solve our ADA compliance issues, or are we gonna need to get that transcribed for?
You talking about television?
Yeah, for.
Streaming it?
Yeah, for blind.
Well, I haven't
still-
heard yet what the ADA issue is.
Well, Mr. Royal said there would be, when I just made a comment that there are ADA issues that you may need to televise to comply with that. So I'm assuming that we need to comply with ADA, and I'll make a motion that we do the television.
Well, I'm not sure that the ADA requires it to be televised. I'm
I
not
don't-
opposed to it, but I don't think that.
Yeah, I don't think it's,
Televising everything.
do you think it's required, Max?
No, your meetings are not required to be streamed or televised.
No.
But what's visible to the person on the receiving end has to be ADA compliant, meaning if they're blind.
Right, that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
Does televising it actually open us up to
Yeah, you'll have to.
worse ADA compliance issues than
Or
not?
if they're hard of hearing.
Right.
It has to be, it goes through some process, a technical process, which I don't understand fully.
So are your broadcasts closed captioned?
No,
No?
So is there audio along with the video? Is there audio?
there's audio and video. There's a camera right in that corner that takes in the whole room, and then we have the picture cameras. The whole room is a static picture.
So if it's streamed, and if it's streamed live, right? And then if somebody wants a copy of that meeting, how is that done?
We just give you a DVD, or give them a DVD. of the
If somebody requests
meeting.
it?
Yeah, it's up to them to have the equipment
So it would be you guys that would have to provide
for a cost.
for a cost from our meetings that you're, right,
So we
so,
charge $5 for a DVD.
right, that's what we do, yeah, yeah. So you would have a DVD, the audio video of the meeting.
But you televise the city meetings here, and you don't have to do sign language, or it's just a regular, and you're within compliance.
Only if we have a request from a citizen, we get it and sign it.
Okay.
A special.
think.
So just televising doesn't throw you into trouble, you don't have to do anything extra because you're televising it?
No, it's done through a software program.
Okay.
But it's audio and video that comes out.
It was audio and
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's ADA necessary. You may just like to do it anyway, though.
Right, yeah.
No reason people can't be bored without having to come.
And if you get complaints about it, if it becomes a problem, you just quit doing it.
Right. Did someone from the public comment on that?
Public comment is, yeah, come on up, sure, come on up.
Thank you for allowing me to speak on this item. There were Roland 6281 Old Dixie Drive, 32095. Some of you may not know that I'm an advocate for the disabled, and this is a good thing. It's very cheap. You can avoid any problems with anyone down the road, possibly saying, you know, hey, I can't make it to a meeting because I'm disabled, or I don't drive, or I'm hearing impaired, or visually impaired, or a veteran in a wheelchair. And that'll solve all of those problems. It's inexpensive. While I've been here, I have used my cell phone, go on the internet, and watched the county commission meeting that Mr. Slavin spoke about that's going on at the same time. Because there's an item that they're speaking about that I was interested in, but I couldn't be in two places at once. So the answer to some of your questions is the meetings from the city of St. Augustine Beach, Max, so you correct me if I'm wrong. Hello, Max. They go on YouTube. So the meetings go on YouTube, so people don't actually have to purchase or go and bother the city of St. Augustine Beach to archive, to see into your archive. So if someone next week wanted to see this meeting, if this was happening right now, they could just go on YouTube. Tomorrow I can go on YouTube and see the county meeting. They archive that the next morning. So just to let you know how it works, for over 30 years I was in the video surveillance business. So, and I've been coming to these meetings for, see, we've been a city since 1959, not that long. So just to give it in a short to finish up, is that it's an inexpensive cost. It will avoid any ADA concerns down the road. And maybe some of us wouldn't show up to these meetings. We could sit home and have a cup of coffee and watch the excitement, as Mr. Chris Way was alluding to.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna get a lot of hits on YouTube.
So another thing that happens is when I go and look at the city meetings where you all are sitting right now, and I'm at home watching it, I can actually see on YouTube, it will say 6 people are watching. You can see how many people are watching. Right underneath the video screen, it tells you how many. So if I sign off, it will say 5 people, if I was one of the 6. So these are some of the things that I know that Max didn't explain to you that I know as a video person. And the last thing that I want to say is, you don't actually have to have a technician and pay any extra money, because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cameras in here. It's like what they do in Russia. Every corner has 20 cameras. So the point is that you can have one camera just looking wide from over there on that wall at all of you, and then another camera, this one right here, just looking at the speaker. So then when someone like myself gets up and speaks, any one of the people in the audience, it will switch to that one camera. And it's all automated. You can either have someone that you pay to do it, or you can have the computer does it. As soon as someone steps up, it switches to the other camera. Just want to explain those things to you, that I know how it works, and that'll solve all your ADA problems. And the city of St. Augustine is in compliance with the ADA, and they don't have to have, as he said, an interpreter unless someone requests that. They have to do that in advance. So that'll solve everything, and with your budget, it's pennies. Anyway, thanks for letting me speak on that, to let me know the technicalities of it. And the city of St. Augustine does it, the county does it, and it all goes on YouTube. So if this meeting was being televised, I could tomorrow go on YouTube and look, or I could go tonight and look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
Yeah, but how would we do it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for allowing public comment. Ed Slavin, Box 3084. I want to commend Mr. Rowland, who has been like Horatio at the bridge here in St. Johns County for decades. He and another gentleman who's no longer with us actually sued the city of St. Augustine and made them, as a result of a federal court case, provide for accessible sidewalks, which the city never had. And we've got a lot of improvement to do. But thank you in advance for voting this. It's about democracy, and it's about what Justice Louis Steinmetz Brandeis said. Electric light is the best policeman, and sunlight is the best disinfectant. And I thank you in advance for voting to tell us. Thank you very much.
Who would coordinate this? The city of St. Augustine?
I think it's the
St. Augustine Beach.
city of St. Augustine Beach we do it.
There are two, excuse me, 2 points I need to clarify. First, we don't have an automatic switcher for the cameras. There's actually 2 people upstairs. So we do the switching and they also name the people as they're speaking. Meaning they switch between the individuals at the podium, or the dais rather, and then if somebody's here, they switch the camera to that person. There's another thing we have to consider, that they all get off work at 5 o'clock. So if your meetings go on for half an hour or longer, they're on overtime. And that's a cost we would have to charge.
Okay, about how much does that cost?
Well, I don't want to just give a figure off my top of my head. I'd have to look into that. I couldn't bring it to the city commission in December because that agenda is already closed. It'd have to be done in January, and we'll refine the costs. And at the December meeting, your meeting, I can tell you more about the costs.
Max, can you email me the breakdown of what it would cost till 5 o'clock, and then what it would cost after 5 o'clock?
Yes.
How much more in overtime that the port would have to spend on there?
Yes, and it can be with 1 camera or 2 cameras.
Are the prices different than the ones you've already emailed me for next
Well,
year, you mean, or?
Well, Commissioner,
You don't remember, okay.
Going back a ways.
$21.75 an hour.
I remember it, yeah,
It was-
I think the lower tier was
Yeah.
all in gonna be something like about $1,000 a year.
Yeah, it
because
was
it's-
really, and I couldn't
Yeah, it's
believe it.
about $50 or $60 a meeting, plus there were some other associated costs, if I recall correctly. So it's not bad, but I guess we'll wait for
Yes.
specifics and then we'll.
Yeah, so I'll mail something to you for
And
the
then I'll send it
December
on.
meeting.
Okay. Before the meeting, so they'll all have it.
And
Yeah.
then that would be that by our January meeting, we could be potentially filming.
No, then I have to go to the city commission on January 6th and say, we
Okay.
do allow it.
Right. But our January meeting would be later.
The third Tuesday, yeah.
Potentially, we could be
For January
rolling
meeting, yes.
for 2020. Great. Thank you.
All right, so we'll table that discussion until we go to figures. Okay, unsealing letters of interest regarding engineering. That would be,
Okay, so we have 3. One is from Taylor Engineering, one is from DMC, and one is from Applied Technology. Now, I don't know which one of you would like to unseal these, but once they're unsealed, what I will have to do is take them back and make copies of everything and then send them, because you guys have to all look over these and just, have a discussion, so you're gonna wanna look over these. So what I would do is take them back to my office and copy and scan and then send them over to all of you. If that's, that's the.
So this will be.
So this is basically just a ceremonial unsealing.
Well, Chris, you're the closest, you want?
Yeah. Why don't we just let her take them and scan them?
Well,
You have to unseal them. You still have to open them.
yeah.
And once you open them, you can hand them right back. No, there's no,
Make sure there's no.
no,
White powder.
yeah. Check Taylor's real close.
Use this tape for. What kind of engineer did that? All right, here we go. Nominees for Best Supporting Actress.
Are.
Okay, there's ATM, I'm familiar with them. This one,
That's DMC.
DMC. And then the last one that shows Taylor.
which actually is the nicest. Nicest.
You know, scan.
Yeah, I'm gonna scan them all, and then I'm gonna send them to the commissioners.
So you can review them, and next time, talk about them and vote. Just be prepared to do that.
Okay. All right. Old business. Update on Main Street. Mr. Flowers.
Use that. Just a couple pictures. This is the driveway bib at the May Street. It's horrible. You see the big grooves in there? Basically, I went to a meeting with the FDOT, and they're more than happy to rent us all of the pieces of the parts and what we need for $1 a year. I also went and spoke with Mr. David Burcham over at City Planning. He didn't say either way, because it has to go through a process. His recommendation was to, draw up a plan, get the thing together with FDOT. I'll show you in a minute what they want us to do, and then present it back to the city. It has to go through Public Works. It's about a 2-week project. But I went back at the King High Tide. Those grooves up there, of course, you see they're not underwater at a King High Tide, but this is what it looks like. This is the middle. Now I'm up on the road, obviously, looking towards the south. You see the bridge lines way back there in the background. That breach right there is pretty bad. I'm going to show you how far it extends. Okay. Now that's the breach in the middle. If you see in the far background going towards the west, we have high ground again. And coming back towards us toward the east here, we also have high ground again towards the driveway bib. Now, I got an estimate like how much would it cost to grade that road there so that the water doesn't come up. It's $25,000 to $35,000. It's a whole lot of grading. It's not a lot of engineering plans or anything like that, but it's a lot of grading. So basically, you see, we've got a gully there. I have not. The FDOT said that big driveway bib, if they went ahead and at some point we vote to go ahead with this, they would want us to really pave a very wide, deep driveway there, coming out towards each end, so because it's so bad, you can see the grooves. It's almost up to the edge where the hill goes up the road on the water. So I don't have an estimate on that yet, but I'm still working on getting some concrete guys out there just to let us know, but it's not the tiny project I sure thought it was. Certainly not at the King Tide.
Did FDOT mention anything about traffic impact there, or anything we have to do to mitigate that? And people coming out on the Main Street, it's already so bad with one boat ramp, but they at least have a turn lane.
Right. And this is, no, this wouldn't have it, and they didn't talk about that in our meeting. They were talking about all kinds of other things, but it's not traffic mitigation. They didn't seem worried about that. But again, it was just a very initial meeting to put our toe in the water and see if they would be even willing to move forward. They're definitely willing to move forward if we finance the grading and on their property still that huge driveway bit.
Right.
I just don't have a clue what to throw out at that cost-wise, so I have to get a couple of people over there. But it's I don't know, something about me on this little thing makes me want to put a wall there, we could get carried away with it, but if the board is still interested in pursuing it, I will go ahead and get some concrete bids and bring it back as a hardcore figure. But the FDOT was not object to it at all, and city didn't express an objection, but it doesn't mean it would be approved.
That place you're calling the bridge, what point that up?
Sorry?
It's,
Okay.
I'm standing up on the road on
No,
this.
I mean, I passed by there.
Yeah, I was
every day,
thinking you see it all the time.
coming and going, and my feeling about this is kind of let well enough alone. That tide, as it comes in there, even on a normal high tide, goes over that, and I think you'd have to build that land up about maybe 6 or 7 feet higher than it is now to keep it, out of a normal high tide even. But we've been having extremely high tides the last couple of days.
Well, that's why I wanted to get a picture of it at its worst.
Yeah,
so
that's
we would
exactly right.
know what the worst case that could come along and possibly wash
My
it.
feeling about the rolling up alone is that people that use that know about the high tide. They park high up on the road, and I don't know if it's worth putting the money into it
you know, to,
I understand what you're saying. You've always said we should leave it alone, Mr. Rivers. I understand your point.
Because people still use it, and it's not costing us anything.
Well, if you go by it every day, and I don't go by it every day, but it's really strange how people have to use that. I mean, it's only usable by people with certain types of trucks. It's just, when they use it, it makes that mud puddle area just worse. It's literally making it worse. It's almost, it'd be better to not have it used at all if we were gonna leave it on, because just the use of it is actually making the mud puddle and the where it holds the water in those big mud puddles actually worse and even deeper.
What if you do the project, what about parking?
Well, we had a, I'm sorry, I thought you got a copy of that. Mr. Mike did draw out, was there about 12, was it 10 or 12 parking places? It wasn't a whole lot.
Right, I don't remember exactly, something around that.
Okay.
would we be obligated if they do turn it into a project like that, where you've got handicap parking and lighting and, you know, I don't know, I'm not sure what the ramifications of that are, but.
I was talking to Mr. Birchfield, and he didn't indicate we'd have to have it, but see, Public Works may educate me on that a little bit further down the line.
I would, Commissioner Brown brought up a good point, and that's that in and out egress on the road. Because the DOT is gonna wade in on that. And I would think I would get that resolved first before we look any further, because we can do all this work and then the DOT goes, no, you're not pulling up on
I
that.
had 12 people from every different department there. I was blown away, to tell you the truth, in their professionalism. They were way ahead of me. They were ready to move on and get this done, and it's a great idea. And I think perhaps, I can't speak for them, but because there's only 10, I think 10 or 12 at the very most, and one is probably going to be handicapped. Handicap van, accessible type of thing. It's just not enough traffic, I don't think, to make them worry about it.
Yeah, well,
I can't imagine it's gonna hurt to have you get us a copy.
Yes, I'll bring you some
We
more
still have
numbers
no
for
skin
that.
on the game, so
Okay.
I would be in favor of you continuing to look into that.
No, I think it's a good idea.
All right, we'll just keep getting some numbers on it.
Discussion on signage request for Summer Haven.
Summer Haven Friends called me up and said, people are coming through that new project, going really fast, and they've got a lot of brand new plantings and all kinds of things going. And I know that FWC will not allow us to put no wake signs out, except, near a bridge. I've been through that with them before, but they were asking for some signage that would just alert the public, and I don't actually have the verbiage yet. Roy, did you have an idea on the verbiage? Actually, what you might want it to say? Something about slow down, or this is your new project.
Come to the mic.
Kind of like those, have you ever seen on the side of the road, you'll see a sign that says your tax dollars at work, and it gives you a little information?
Roy left, I'm Terry Parker.
Oh, I'm sorry, Roy.
That's all right, Commissioner Flowers. 9181 G. Johnson Road, Summer Haven. We really have not discussed any particular verbiage. Our concern is dune erosion from boat traffic on the newly restored dune. So however we can address that, whatever language might be appropriate or acceptable, that's our goal, is to slow traffic down to prevent erosion there.
And maybe announce that this is your project here, and slow down, take it easy, plantings.
Newly restored dune, I'm sure we could come up with something, and if there's some objections long-term, this could be short-term till it's vegetated and stabilized.
Well, I got a couple of estimates for that through a couple of sign companies. It's about for two very large signs, like 8x4 sheet of plywood, and they would be that coated aluminum so they didn't rust out immediately. Would be, with the printing and everything, 2 or 3 colors, about $1,300 would cover 2 of those. And then they just have to be installed on like 4x4s or something like that.
We'd be happy to install any signs that are beneficial to the area there, sure.
The only thing that didn't seem to go well was the FDOT doesn't like to hang anything from the bridge.
That was Roy's suggestion, and we all felt the same way.
Okay, so, but we could put one on each side or something?
Sure.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion that we try to get those signages for the Friends of Summer Haven for that project.
There's not gonna be any problem with us appearing to be creating a no wake sign when it's not actually a no wake sign. FWC's not gonna come and tear those signs down.
I would have to ask them exactly what the verbiage is.
doesn't that apply only in the navigable channels? I mean, where you have, because that's, when you're talking about going into it on both ends.
Where are these signs gonna be installed? I mean, if they're not on the bridge, are they gonna be just in private property? Because if they are, then that
Well,
shouldn't be a problem at all.
on the river's edge there, which I guess would still be state lands.
In front of the berm, for example, one close to the berm.
Yes, I would think so,
So-
probably at the north end of the newly restored dune and maybe down toward the south end, something like that. So they would be on, actually, I think the dune falls on county property.
So are we gonna need a permit for, is that gonna fall under our permit? We need a permit that, wouldn't we?
We need to coordinate with DEP, and they may just, it may be a field permit, CCCL field permit, or they may have to issue a permit mod, just a short administrative mod.
Right.
I don't think it would take all that much, but I can give DEP a call and see what we'd have to do.
So before we even vote on money, could we get an answer on what the legality of this is gonna be?
Sure.
Is it possible that DEP would have some guidelines as to the verbiage or the size or that sort of thing?
I don't know, but I will ask.
Thank you.
Thank you. Update from Mr. Bedsole regarding the Summer Haven short plan.
Okay. So I had written Turnbull's Insurance Company. Thank you. Last month. I asked the Turnbulls for policies, and they did give me some policies, and totally cooperated. But they didn't have all of them. So I wrote to the insurance company, and asked the insurance company for them. And just last week, I got 40-something policies that cover the period from 2015 to nearly the end of 2020. And this certificate of insurance, the last page in your little thing there, you can see that's representative of what kind of policies there are. A is pollution environmental policy. B is an auto policy. I mean, not the cars and trucks. The next A, which is the third one down, is an excess policy for the A above, the main policy. D is workers' compensation. E is a structure policy for the building. And inland marine is a policy that insures equipment in case it's damaged or it drops in the water or something like that. So at the very top, though, on A, you see general liability, commercial general liability. And that, if we made a claim, that's probably where we'd end up making a claim on that policy. And
Under A?
yeah,
Okay.
the one on the top there, commercial general liability, you can see there's a little X in the box.
2 million coverage?
Pardon?
Is that what you're looking at, with $2 million coverage?
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, I was looking at.
each
the
occurrence is $1 million. Anyway, it's a lot of coverage. I don't have any idea at this point whether a claim would work. Most of these things are, this is an occurrence policy, so that means that you have a certain period of time to make claims on it. It's not like a claims made policy where when your policy goes into effect and it ends a year later, the claim has to be made during that policy. Occurrence policy can be made on an insurance policy, just like car insurance. If you had a wreck 3 years ago, whoever insured you 3 years ago would be the insurance company that would receive the claim. And luckily they've been with the same companies the whole time, they've had the same policies the whole time. So the next step is to, there's all these policies, but they're basically just about 6 different kinds. And I've just been organizing them this morning, I just got them last week. So I'm gonna look at them a little more, and then by next month, we'll have some kind of claim letter going out to the insurance company, or maybe to all of them, about the damages from the hurricanes.
From the hurricanes,
Yeah.
we're suing the subcontractors, what we voted for.
Well, this is the contractor's insurance.
Okay, I'm just saying, I thought we voted to file a claim to recoup money because the contract was not completed. Am I wrong about this?
Well, this is a damage claim.
Okay,
And to sue because the contract was not completed, is that what you said? Like the contractor didn't finish it?
right, well, like
He
it's
should have
gonna take us,
finished it.
it's gonna cost us $1 million according to the best estimate I could find to
Right.
complete what was supposed to be done.
Well, the contract with Turnbull required them to carry all risk insurance. So far, I haven't located any all risk insurance. I'm not sure they
Well, this $1 million of per occurrence would do us probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A
Okay.
couple of hurricanes and you're there.
But I don't understand why you keep talking about hurricanes are not at fault here.
Well, because the all risk insurance was supposed to cover damage from hurricanes or anything else that
And Turnbull holds that all
damaged
risk
the work in
insurance?
place.
Okay,
So the work in place was, at that point, 98% of the project was done. And along came Matthew and threw it all back in the river.
so if you had all risk insurance during that time period, it would kick in
It would cover that.
to cover that, and he does have all
Theoretically,
risk.
it would cover it, yeah.
He does have or does not have all risk
I
insurance?
haven't found any. So
It wouldn't that be required to do a $3 million state contract?
it is required by the contract.
So who would be responsible for making sure he
Well,
has
the
that?
contractor is responsible.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like after all these months, and you can't find it, that he has the insurance.
Well, he's got all these kinds of insurances, and my idea is to shotgun and make claims on all of them and see what happens. There may be more insurance. I'm not sure I've got everything yet.
I'm very disappointed that it's taken so long. I mean, it just seems like this was something in 30 days, you know, we could have shut out. And what is the file by date? What if we've waited too long or
No,
do
it's
it?
been 3 years since the hurricane.
Again, I'm talking about when he just left that project in June.
Right.
And that's the first time that this board or the Friends found out we weren't gonna get a complete project.
Right.
So how could we have, you know, what does it have to do with 3 years ago? But
Well, I can't, at that time, everybody was looking toward the legislature to make it up. And they did. They gave more money to.
Since June?
No, no.
Oh, I'm just talking about since
Back
June
when
when
the
we
damage
found out it
occurred.
was, right.
We can't unhook from the fact that the project was almost done and the hurricanes destroyed it twice.
Okay, well, as long as he has the required insurance to go back, which is what FEMA was telling us.
Right.
He was supposed to have the risk insurance to cover that, and it doesn't look like he does. So where does that leave us? How else can we get damages from him?
Well,
if he's
it leaves
neglecting
us
his
trying to get
state
damages
requirement?
from some of these
Okay.
or from Turnbull directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there some time limit on that so that we don't miss our chance?
Well, it's been 3 years. I don't think time is a big pressure right now. Written contracts are good for 5 years.
Jim, can I interrupt real quick? It was Hurricane Irma, not Hurricane Matthew, so really it's September 2017,
So
not
is it,
2016.
well, Matthew didn't,
Matthew occurred before construction started, so it's
Right.
Hurricane Irma. So
So
it's
it's
going
Irma.
in 2 years, not 3.
okay.
So that's good then.
So when Irma hit, how much of the project was destroyed? Was that when 98% of it was destroyed?
They were about 98% done, and I estimated about 130,000 cubic yards were pushed back into the river.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I'm not clear about the mathematics, and we'll do that. I'll get with Mike and we'll get straight about all that before we start making claims. But I think I have almost all the policies, and I think within another few weeks, we can, by the time the next meeting, we can have a claim made.
But you don't have the risk policy.
The missing policy, well, I haven't found it yet.
Would Turnbull give it to you? I mean, would
They gave me everything they had. I'm not sure they ever had a policy.
So it's possible they didn't have it.
It's possible.
Who was responsible to make sure that they had it when they came on this?
Well, the contractor is responsible.
Now, who's that? The Taylor Engineering then?
No,
Who's the
well,
contractor?
I don't really
Well,
know.
then who oversight? I know, but we have to have some oversight. Is there no oversight when he was hired to make sure he had the insurance policies required? Who's responsible for that oversight?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we would audit the contractor though. I think the fact
I'm
that
not
he
saying
has,
audit, you know what I'm
but you
saying?
know what I mean, like if he doesn't have it and we can get his license revoked from the state. I mean, that's the regulatory oversight for a contractor to make sure they have their insurance.
Okay, but that
and they have
means
their
this
books straight.
project bust if we can't have, if we don't have, and that's, I just feel like we have.
Well, I'm not saying
have
there's
to
not, there's
drop.
not something here to get money from.
Okay. Because I feel
making
like
it-
the faster we can get money to go back into this, because that would be all Summer Haven's money.
Right.
And we could go back and perhaps do a little something.
Oh,
So,
I understand. And you know, the county's gonna be out there working too. As soon as the water gets moving, it's gonna maybe scour itself a little bit, I don't know. But, more money is definitely necessary to fix things.
So you intend to file a claim? by
Yeah,
next
I'm
week?
gonna, I'll file a claim on the policy that on one or more policies. The general liability policy is the one I would think. Workers' comp policy doesn't apply, property policy doesn't apply, the inland marine, I read those. All of the car policy doesn't apply. It's a general liability policy that has the excess liability coverage. And just because it doesn't seem to fit, it doesn't mean you can't make a claim. Sometimes they pay just to get away from claims, whether they work or not. So that's where we are now. If any of you want to see policies, I can email PDFs to you. There are 44 of them, I think.
But wasn't the crux of the loggerhead was on how much was removed according to the contract? Wasn't that the loggerhead where there was, in the contract, they were gonna remove so many cubic yards?
Right.
And not did a contract based on how deep it was gonna be in any particular spot? Wasn't that, as I recall, that was.
You mean the last portion of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was on a change order for 47,000 cubic yards, something like that.
So then Irma comes in and dumps sand back in, and that's where it stands now.
Yeah. It happened once.
Yeah, Hurricane Irma is responsible for all of our current issues, basically.
So now whether or not he has coverage for it is.
That's an open question.
I would suggest anytime in the future we deal with folks, we get that up front and keep it in a file. That way, that way we know, otherwise it's just punitive damages towards them afterwards. I'm just saying, it leaves the taxpayer in quite a lurch.
Okay, any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, public comment. Question from public.
Yeah.
Someone.
Terry Parker, 9181 G. Johnson Road, Summer Haven. In regards, I'm a retired general contractor, so I do have some experience with builders' risk policies, general liability, and so forth. And generally speaking, they would be provided by the contractor to the owner prior to first payment being made. So that's just the way it was always presented to us. So on another note, I'd like to direct a question to Mike regarding the Summer Haven River at the south end, if I may. Mike, what is the status of the permit modification, the permanent modification for removal of the sand down there?
So the county's other consultant that's working with them on the FEMA Dune project, they've collected some geotechnical data. They're supposed to provide us that data, and I'm coordinating with that consultant to, I guess, define the river dredging template. Once we do that, we'll prepare permit drawings and submit those to DEP. So they've been working on that for a couple months. I'm just waiting for that information.
So realistically, it's quite a ways out of the approval, possible approval.
I expect to have all the information we need to prepare permit drawings and submit those to DEP by next month sometime. And the DEP permit modification we should get fairly quickly. It's the Army Corps permit modification that's going to take a while.
How do you think that will, and I know you can't speak for the county, but how will that coincide with their plans to build the dune at the beach on the south end and provide the roadway for those residents?
I think the big question they're looking into is how much sand is currently available in the permitted areas that we can dredge, which would be the current river restoration template and the overwash. So they're looking into, because I think they need about 50,000 cubic yards to build that FEMA dune. I'm not sure if there's 50,000 cubic yards available, but they're looking into it. There's more sand in that south end that's filled in going towards the south bridge at A1A. So that's the area that would require the permit modification, but we can get the overwash that's in that general area down there.
So it's really up in the air whether the permit would be in place by the time the county is ready to move forward. Am I understanding that right?
The permits that currently exist will allow somebody to go back into our river restoration template and dredge that the way it was originally intended to dredge. I think there's about maybe 30,000 cubic yards, maybe more with all the current infill.
That's northward of the big deposit of sand that's further south.
Right. So then,
bridge.
yeah. So there's the river restoration template, and then there's all that overwash down in that R204, R205 area.
You mentioned earlier that they would, the county would have to go with which is the least expensive to get this sand.
FEMA will only pay for the least cost alternative.
Okay, so is it possible that when that's determined, what the difference is, and then maybe that's something that we can address from there to pay the difference?
That may be possible for someone else to chip in the difference for the.
I mean, it's worth looking into before they haul dirt in, when we got a river full of it.
That was exactly our thoughts as well. And it seemed logical that the dredging operation would be less expensive than hauling it, but I understand dredging is expensive.
Right, and mobilizing a dredge is expensive, and I mean that's going to require about a mile of pipeline, which I mean that's adds to the cost as well.
Right.
But again, that the county is looking into this. So.
Yeah, but I mean the pipe and the dredge and all that stuff is still going to go against all the trucks and everything. I mean, I can't imagine it being that far out of whack. I mean, I don't know anything about moving dirt, but for them to dredge it is X, and then to haul it in, and whatever that difference is, should be
for them to haul sand from SJ1 would probably cost $20 per cubic yard in that neighborhood.
Oh, what do you think the dredging is then?
My guess is a little bit more than that.
I mean, 30?
I don't think it would be more than 30. I think it would be more than 20.
Well, I'll take a look at it. See if we can convince them not to haul it in.
Okay. Well, we were just trying to determine as well, where the permits stand, permit modifications stood in regards to the county's schedule.
Yeah, so really it's the dredging a channel through the south end of the river is what's kind of off the table right now, unless there's a miracle and the Army Corps gives us a permit mod quickly. But the overwash and then the north end is all available.
So the determining factor would be if there's not enough sand in the currently permitted area, the overwash area, then they would haul. Do you think that's accurate?
And again, I mean, I think you have to have a discussion with the county when it comes time for them to make that decision, because it's possible that they haul some of it from SJ1 and get what they can from the river if someone else pays the difference. And it really depends on what FEMA is going to accept and what they'll pay for.
And they could extract sand from the river in the overwash areas by land-based equipment, could they not?
That's correct.
So they could do both, possibly.
Right. The coastal construction control line, that is situated along the landward side, or I guess that defined the eastern shoreline of the river before Hurricane Matthew. So in my opinion, all sand in the river west of that coastal construction control line is overwash. Right. And it's probably, you can probably dig that out.
So you said that the southern dredging of the river is pretty much off the table with the county right now?
I don't want to say that because we're still pursuing that. I just, getting a permit mod for the Army Corps permit is probably going to take a while, at least 6 months, up to a couple of years. It's really hard to say. So that's to dredge a channel from the river restoration project all the way down to that southern bridge.
Right.
That's gonna take a little while, but getting the overwash and digging out the river restoration project again, we can do that.
So if they were to haul in sand, I mean, it may be a little more expensive to dredge, but we're getting the dredge job done at the same time, right? I mean, where they haul that sand in from, is that another dredge project that they need to get rid of that sand anyway?
No, if they truck in sand, I mean, that's coming from SJ1, that sand is just sitting there.
Okay.
There's no use for that sand at the moment, except for
So
emergency
it's
truck
not
haul
hurting
projects.
anything, navigation or anything like that, but if we dredge to get the sand, it would really help us, that's all.
Right, I mean, all the sand that's in SJ1, that Fine and the Army Corps put that in there from maintenance dredging projects before
Okay.
they started putting it on the
So
beach.
it's just like a sand dump,
Right,
and they get, okay.
right.
Okay, thank you.
Public comment.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank the last speaker for his persistence in raising these issues. And I noticed you didn't run the clock on him, so don't do it on me either. Let me see. I'm glad that you're observing 286.0114, and I thank you. And as far as the insurance claim, I agree with Commissioner Flowers. This should have been done months ago. I thought y'all gave really strict instructions in July or August. You are running the clock, okay. All right. I thought y'all gave pretty strict instructions to the attorney in July or August to do this. And I think y'all are acting like a herd of turtles. I mean, y'all need to get the lead out. I mean, you got a contractor that was a material breach of contract. Is that right? They walked off the job and were being rather permissive about it. What's going on here? Who owns this company? Why aren't they here with a lawyer explaining themselves? Why did he just distribute to y'all a letter that he just belatedly sent, and it's not on your website? It hasn't been provided to me in response to open records requests. And I think you're running this place like a country store, and people don't expect that. They expect you to run it like a government, like a business-like government. And on Summer Haven, I've suggested several times, gave you the information from Dr. Michael Shirley. There's also another PhD at UF. She's a graduate of an engineering school in Spain. She's an expert on the Summer Haven River project. I've suggested that y'all have a meeting with St. Johns County Board of County Commissioners, both boards together, to talk about Summer Haven. Why haven't y'all done that? Is it because I suggested it? I think if you suggest, well, he's gone. If he suggested it, you'd probably be doing it and, clicking your heels, but I suggest it and you just ignore me. What's the status of the work for the archivist? Y'all voted back in August.
I haven't heard a thing.
I haven't heard a word either. Could somebody, when I'm done, please tell us what's going on? Also, on this bid opening, I asked the staff, or the non-staff independent so-called contractor, did y'all advertise an engineering news record? How were potential bidders, how were potential engineering companies advised of this opportunity? I think the standard of care is that you advertise an engineering news record, and if y'all didn't, I think that's the basis for somebody to file a bid protest who didn't even know about the invitation. Surprised there were only 3. I mean, I think it would be a good contract for anybody to have. And let me ask, Mr. Chairman, well, also, in terms of breach of contract, I would commend your attention to a story in the Los Angeles Times in the 2011 timeframe. When I was at Global Wrap, a local company, we were cheated by a contractor based in California. They cheated a lot of people. It's called Paramount Disaster Recovery, Inc. They lost their California contractor's license. And a reporter from the LA Times and I worked together for about 6 months. Our president, Tony Serafin, contacted the LA Times editor, and I worked with the LA Times on that. And Commissioner Brown, you're absolutely right. The DBPR could pull their contracting license. And I'm not sure why your attorney hasn't expressed that and why y'all haven't been tougher on a breach of contract, because if you've got one company that's had a contract with y'all for 29 years, the contract expired last year, and we're just now getting expressions of interest, not very effectively advertised. But I don't think contractors take government agencies very seriously when they don't protect their rights. And I think too many of our governments in this local area, historically, well, I'm not gonna call them good old boys, because we learned when Bill Harris put a landfill in the lake, he's not a good old boy. Good old boys like to hunt and fish. That was a prime bass fishing spot that he ruined for years. But we caught him, and the stuff is now in a proper waste disposal place. Wanted to ask the vice chairman when I'm done to address his libel of Commissioner Flowers and I. I've done some emails about that. And is he going to apologize for calling us a couple of nutcases? I thought that was totally inappropriate and certainly not courteous and not respectful. And finally, Mr. Chairman, I sent a complaint to the Supervisor of Elections about you and your residency, and it is 120 paragraphs. And I've not received a response from the chairman, so let me just ask that the document be spread upon the minutes of this meeting. And Mr. Chairman, if you have any factual responses to the 120 paragraphs, please let me have them by noon tomorrow before I take the next step. And just want to let you all know, before I sent that letter, I did text him and I offered to read it to him. He wanted me to text it to him, and I've got arthritis and it would be kind of fiddly to text it to you, but I was more than willing to read that to you before I sent it. And the concern is that if the chairman of the St. Augustine Port Beach and Waterway District is a non-resident of St. Johns County and the district, he's serving illegally, and I think you all have addressed that along with my other concerns, and I thank you.
Thank you. Great. Anybody else? Comments by commissioners?
I have a comment. Miss Elise, how did we advertise the?
It was in the paper, 2 weeks. It was in the St. Augustine Record, and it was on the website.
That's not much. I mean, that's just local. Could we do that? Could we do?
Well, these I've got responses, emails from engineers from, I think it was South Florida and different places. So obviously they.
Is there a bidding section of the newspaper? Is that where it went in?
No, it goes into. I'd have to look at the newspaper ad. I have it.
Well, would it be possible to, what was the name of that, Mr. Slavin? Some kind of engineering?
Engineering news record.
News record?
Engineering
and
news
that's
record.
where normally?
Yeah. So that's a publication.
Could we do that? No? Why
No.
not?
Well, because we're bound by the state law governing negotiations with engineers and land surveyors. We already started the process. We did advertise in the paper, we advertised on the internet, we got interest from...
Is that normal that we don't put it in some kind of engineering?
Well, I contacted the city of St. Augustine, their purchasing director, and he said there is some place they run it. I don't think it's a trade magazine, something else, but he said mainly they advertise in the Record and they put it on the city's website. That's their main way. So that's what we did, and we got responses
That's
from...
how the city finds their engineers specifically, or just other people?
Anybody they want to hire under that statute, engineers, architects, and land surveyors. And we did get a response or an inquiry from the West Coast from somebody?
Yeah, I got an email.
See, we got responses from all over the country. There weren't a lot of them.
No, there was like, I think there was like, I could forward you all the emails. I thought I did.
It was obvious that people were looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't, it wasn't hidden. And the firms that applied, including Taylor, are local firms. I think since it wasn't a project, it was an ongoing relationship with a very small district. I think that a lot of firms are focused on projects and they bid on projects, and the city's bidding system is based on a project basis. So we had to modify that because what we want is somebody to furnish continuing expertise in engineering, and firm from across the country or even in South Florida usually are interested in something like that, sending somebody to a meeting every month where they don't get paid and that kind of thing. So I think we did pretty good to get 3 responses.
Another question, Lisa, I've got an email about regarding the FEMA deadline. Is that tomorrow?
Yeah, that was, I think, didn't we discuss that? That was for Dorian. Dorian.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah, for Dorian,
was-
Hurricane Dorian, yeah.
Right, we have no damages from.
Right, that was for Dorian only.
All right, so the breach that the county's working down there is not in our district?
No, it's in the district, it's not in our project.
No, I'm not saying it is in our project, I'm saying it's in our district, right?
Yeah.
And I
It's
just
in the
thought-
district, but we didn't sustain any damages, the county did.
We sustained damages within our district, is that correct? So we could file for FEMA money to help our district?
This county would have to.
Is that possible?
You have to file for a specific project, and you don't have any specific projects that were damaged from
So
Dorian.
is the 500,000 the county just put into repairing the breach, is that not a project?
Well, that's
the county.
The county is coordinating with FEMA for Dorian damages.
Well, I talked to the county today, and they're not aware of tomorrow's deadline at all. So I was just, getting it today, I was just a little concerned.
I think they already filed a claim.
No, I just spoke to Mr. Kent, the engineer, and he said no. He
Yeah.
said tomorrow cannot be the possible.
Well, I don't know if it's a real deadline, it was an email that we got, and it was wasn't it from the county?
No, let me check.
So we don't need to do anything as far as we know for this.
No, we didn't have
deadline
any
to
damage.
Recoup anything from
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I mean, we did have damage in our district, the breach opened.
Well, there are damages in the district all the time, it doesn't really involve
You know,
us.
you give these the strangest advice. I am sorry, I can't believe some of the things you say to me.
Well, no, wait,
No, I have every right to say that.
okay.
Again, we have confirmed we have damage in our district and we have a FEMA deadline tomorrow. It's not insane what I'm saying.
No, it's not insane. Like Mr. Trudnick said, though, you have to claim for a project that was
Right, and it's
damaged.
$500,000 is not a project.
It's a county project.
Well, is it a project?
It's a county project, it's not our project.
The county is not aware of this, of tomorrow. I
You can
spoke
only
with the
file,
engineer
you can
today.
only file a claim if you are the project sponsor.
Okay,
So
you
you're
know,
the
that is
sponsor.
within our district, so we have regulation over it, and it is our business.
We're not
It's
sponsored.
especially
You're
our
not the
business
sponsor.
if the county is not aware of tomorrow's deadline, and it's something that could help our district. Everything in our district is under the regulation of this board. So if, somebody wants to talk to Mr. Kent, he is not aware that there's a deadline tomorrow. It'd be nice if our county, if it's not us, if it's in our district and we can recoup some of that $500,000 would be nice.
It has to be a project we're working on.
I
You can't just say
understand.
there's some damage.
I don't
there's some money.
understand how $500,000 going to a dredging, putting sand back is not a project. It's not our personal project for the board, but it's within our district.
We don't
So
do
it's a
every
decent
project in the
question.
district.
But
Yeah.
We're not the sponsor.
It is a good question.
The answer is just that it's not ours, like, we can't touch it.
Does
We couldn't
does
file
this
a
mean
claim.
we could not file a claim?
You can only file a claim to damages that Hurricane Dorian caused to your project. So Dorian didn't cause any damages to your project. It breached.
So that's
the
a
area
county
down there.
project? Okay.
It's,
And the county,
it's county property that breached. And the county is doing work, post-storm work to close that breach.
but it's not called a project.
There was no ongoing project in that area.
What about all this stuff that was on the table, then that south of Summerhaven down there, that's not a project? It just dumped in there, took all of that stuff away, that's not a county project? It's in our district, and that's why I'm concerned.
There's no project constructed down at the south end right now either. The county's working to build the post-Irma FEMA dune. That would be a project once that's constructed. But at the moment, there's no project down there that the district can file a claim on.
Anything else?
Sandy, did you, what about the MSD locks? Did you?
Say it again.
The locks on the boats, the MSD locks, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, I've had a death in the family this month, and I've just not got to a lot of things.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I will.
I'd be happy to look into that too if you want me to.
If you do want,
Sure.
that would be awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Matt, any comment?
That's all I got.
I want to say one thing. The next meeting is 17th of December, but the Regatta Lights is the 14th of December. So I don't know if the yacht club has made it clear, but every commissioner here is invited to the reception afterward at the yacht club. I know Commissioner Brown is going to represent us in judging, but you all are all invited to the reception at the yacht club.
Thank you.
That's it.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Chris?
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay. It looks like our next meeting is gonna be the 17th. That's it. We're adjourned.
Is that the meeting not?